So we're live. All right, cool. So I've been in search for about 18 years. Before it was called SEO, it was called website optimization. And clients who would call, who would have a website that they needed help with, would call back a few months later and say, I love my website, but nobody's visiting it. What do we do? And my job was to figure out how we get traffic to a website without any sort of incremental budget. These are small businesses that barely have $50 left at the end of the month. So I had to learn about how to get traffic to a website for free. And the only way to do that in the heyday of internet marketing was through search engines. And so I learned basically as a webmaster how to optimize website content and submit a website to other website directories and so forth, to build visibility. And before we knew it, pages were starting to show up at the top of Google, and clients were getting phone calls, and I had learned something that later became search engine optimization. Boy, I really wish you guys could jump in. Brent, if maybe you can comment on the live chat and tell me what issues you're seeing with being able to join. There should just be a button next to my my video that you can hit to join the Blab. Okay, we'll just keep talking then. So so beyond that intro day to search, I ended up realizing that the entire world was going to be online. And at the time, I was working for IBM Global Services, and decided, you know what, I'll bet that every business eventually is going to need a website. And as I took my job there at IBM, one of my roles was to move what was print output for one of their clients from Xerox printers to the web. And we moved like, I don't know, $1.3 million worth of print costs to now to be just strictly online and being able to deliver that content in real time. And that's when it occurred to me that I really need to get a degree in this area. So I got a degree in e-business management from a college called Westwood, and I got to touch everything from web servers to programming to graphic design. We got to look at project management in general, and leadership and team management, taking all those things, putting it together, and it became a role called Internet Services Coordinator, or a project coordinator job in e-business. And from there, I picked up some really fun gigs with companies like Disney and some other agencies I'd worked for that specialized just in helping businesses market themselves online. In 2006, I created an ebook called 4 Layers of the SEO Model, How to Rank Higher in Search Engines. And Brent, hey, I see you on there. I'll send message here. Okay, you don't want to join? Come on, I thought the whole point was for us being able to talk. Let's see. Try now. Can you dial in now? Maybe? Oh, you're having technical difficulties. Okay. I'll hang on. Oh, there we go. Show callers. Accept. And are you in? Can we hear you? Hey, agencies I work for that specialize. A bad echo. Maybe switch your audio. Are you in twice? Okay, it went away. I think we're okay. I think I did it. I think it's just your audio that you have to switch. You probably use your machine. Can you dial in now? There. I ended up killing your audio until you figure out what's going on. Technical difficulties. All right, we'll use the chat, and if you think you figured out the audio, let me know, and I'll unmute it. So I was just talking about my history. I wrote this ebook, and I basically took everything I've been learning about internet marketing, into task lists. I said, this is what we need to do to build a plan, to strategize, to figure out where the opportunities are and what we need to be doing based on what the competition is doing. Here are the technical items that we need to focus on. Here are the content things that we need to work on to really make that content perform well for users and search engines. And here's how we measure how we did and how we create a baseline and track. And so I was able to, over the years, I was able to compile all this into this ebook, really more for myself to stay organized and give myself a checklist. And each chapter had a checklist at the end that said, here's what you need to work on. And from that checklist, I was able to create some pretty amazing search engine audits for larger brands, car salesmen in the area. We had, who was it? Claremont Toyota, Amor Toyota. We had a lot of different car dealerships that came to us to build a strategy and help them play oversight on executing for that. At Disney, that was a really fun role I took on that had to do with paid search. So paid search are the ads that you see. Now there's 4 of them at the top of Google. And hey, it says you're in. So Ellie, you can join if you want to hit the magic button. I'll add you. There, basically, I managed 2 accounts. I had Disneyland.com and I had Adventures by Disney. But Disneyland was broken up into 2 components. We had e-commerce, right? Our job with the e-commerce campaign was to focus on tickets, packages, reservations, and on the sales component, trying to sell tickets for as low as we can per ticket sale in Google. The other one was more of a marketing campaign. The role there was really to get as much visibility to events as possible, such as the new Nemo attraction that was opening at the time. It was Disney Grad Night. It was really more about building brand visibility and less about selling tickets. So it was a really interesting dynamic between the 2 groups, and it was a lot of work and planning, and but I learned a lot, and I got some really great templates out of it in terms of how do we report on and manage our paid search campaigns. Eventually, I earned the trust of the manager of the department to do some SEO as well. So we made some search engine optimization recommendations to appear not just in the 4 ads. It wasn't 4 at the time, but there's 4 ads now. Not just to appear in the 4 ads, but also to appear in the natural search results that happen below that. And so we took what was a Flash-based Adventures by Disney website, and we converted it to HTML below the Flash area. It was kind of a hybrid. So Flash was the top, and now we had HTML at the bottom. It was really interesting to see the difference in what happened with traffic when Google could suddenly start reading some of the context, where Flash, it was all embedded, and all it saw was binary, 0s and 1s. What's this page about? I don't know. It's all locked into this Flash. But breaking it out into text so that Google could read it and know, oh, this is about travel to Ireland. Now it knew, and we had a corresponding page instead of just one page with this animation going on Flash. So being able to take that one page and breaking it into a couple dozen pages that all have an individual or serve an individual client need, like travel to Ireland, travel to Hawaii, etc. Now we started to get natural traffic from search. We're a big brand. It was really easy to start appearing, and ergo my corporate search background. So before that, it was mainly freelance and agency and consulting. And with Disney, it really kind of helped me move from being that freelancer to being more in the corporate world. In 2010, I started my own consultancy. I was just an independent consultant. I do a strategy for the first 30 days, and then beyond that, I would just provide phone and email support to help clients through their own search. Last year, we incorporated as Wiideman Consulting Group, and now we've got a small little army of experts that specialize in specific disciplines. We have one guy who is just a genius at web analytics. So he'll sit down during that first month and working with a client and understand what they're trying to track on their website. Are you tracking sales? Let's figure out if we can track what they do as they go through that shopping cart process to see where we can improve to increase the number of sales that you get. Are you lead generation? Well, let's look at what forms you're using and what type of call to action that you have to try to convince the user, the visitor, to fill out a form. And so he'll work with them to make sure that everything is planned and set up in Google Analytics so we can actually track and measure results. We also create a baseline. Where are we right now with our organic search traffic? What pages are they going to the most? What's our bounce rate look like? And is that something we need to work on? So he plays a big part of the planning part of search strategy. Another big part that our web data analyst has to pay close attention to is rankings. So there's a million ways that you can track your rankings. Google's recommendation is that you use their Search Console. You log into Google Search Console, it's free. You go to Search Analytics, and you can actually see across the board what your average ranking is, or drill into a URL and see what search terms people are using, where your website's appearing in the search result, and what your current rank is. It's a great way to do it, but it's not a great way to measure across all search engines. And it's not organized in a way that you can categorize certain areas of your website. For Skechers, account we've been with for quite a while now, we organize our content into product categories. So can you show an example of that? Of which part, Brent? What would you like to see an example of? I'll do my best. The web searches. So Search Console, sure. Let's drill in. I think I actually have one open. Maybe. Let's look at one. Okay, I guess I can show this one. So here's an example. Here, well, maybe, hold on, let me go into a different one. That one's sort of new. I want to have something with some background. Let's go to Google Search Console. And it used to be called Webmaster Tools. Now it's called Google Search Console. So let's look at one for us, SEOroadmap.org. So here's this free site that I put together around search engine strategy. You can click into, let me share my screen with you so you can see it. I click into Search Console. Maybe if it'll let me. It's not going to. Let me screen share, darn it. Oh well. Another disadvantage of Blab, I suppose. Let me just show you a screen print through the URL so you can see what I'm talking about. Here. There we go. I'll put this into the chat for you so you can see it. Boom. So if you look at that URL I just sent you, you can actually see some search analytics, and it tells you exactly how many clicks a certain page has. You can also drill in and look at other things as well as clicks. You can look at how many impressions a particular page has appeared for. So let me do another screenshot of that so you can see it. Put the URL in here for you. So you have it. So now you can see impressions, how many times a page appeared, how many clicks it has, and what position. You can drill into a URL on a specific page and see those same metrics as well. So we like to use industry software, larger programs that allow you to take that same information and maybe even a little bit more and do something with it. So for Skechers, it's categories. So we'll have a category for men's shoes, and we'll have a category for women's shoes. We'll have a category for memory foam. We'll have one for kids' high top shoes or whatever. So we'll create all these individual categories that allow us to look at who else appears for the keywords in that category and understand what our industry market share is in search for a particular category. So for example, if you were going after, for that memory foam, using all of the keywords that we found that people are finding us for in Search Console and in Google Analytics, and maybe even from the AdWords platform, we can take all that information, all those search terms, bundle them into a category, and see what our market share is in search. And it turns out maybe we've got 7% market share, and Amazon has 12, and shoes.com has 15. And then we can set a goal and say, I'd like to have at least 2% more market share for memory foam shoes, as an example. And it gives us something to work against. And it's a great platform. So that's Conductor Searchlight is what we use for that particular type of tracking. You could also use Bright Edge and Search Metrics. And Search Metrics is something new that we looked at recently that is equally as exciting as the other two. So all three platforms will do a really good job of helping you track and see where you rank for a particular keyword and set a preferred URL for that keyword so that we can make sure that that page is what's actually showing up when someone performs that query. So that's Sam's job, is the web data analyst. Let me make sure all the right keywords are being tracked. Let's make sure that we're able to track them all the way to a sale or to a lead. And that's his role. We have another team member who's a content strategist. And so the content strategist job is to look at a piece of content and say, how do I make this page perform better and rank better than the other competing pages out there? So we have law firms that are on our roadmap program that will sign up and say, okay, I want to be #1 for Los Angeles car accident attorney. That's a huge keyword for me. It has 4,000 people a month searching according to Google Keyword Planner, another free tool that you can use. I want to rank #1 for that. What do I do? And so the SEO content strategist job is to pull all of the keywords that users are searching for for that specific page, that preferred URL we were talking about before, and make some suggestions on how we can improve that page, starting with the title and the meta description, what shows up in a Google search result. Whenever you perform a search, you see a blue link and some black text. That link is the title, the black text is the description. And so I'll make some suggestions to try to get users interested in wanting to click our listing. Can you do a definition of SEO? So search engine optimization is simply just trying to move a page up in the search result for a set of search terms and to grow your overall visibility over time. So there's probably 20,000 keywords or search terms that you could appear for in Google that are relevant to you. Some of them more relevant than others. The ones that are more relevant than others are the ones that are likely going to produce a sale. For Skechers, it's memory foam shoes size 12. They happen to have a size 12 and a page for that. That's super relevant. Memory foam shoes general is kind of broad, and it might be somebody who's looking for green, and maybe Skechers doesn't offer green, or it doesn't offer a size 12 if that was something they were looking for. So the broader keywords don't really convert as well into sales, but do typically have a lot more volume and are great for getting your brand out there and doing marketing. But search engine optimization at a high level is really just a way of improving the visibility that you have in Google, Bing, Ask, Facebook, Twitter, anywhere there's a search bar where your business can appear. That is where SEO comes into play. And there's really only 3 major factors that affect SEO. That is how relevant your page is to what they searched. It's how visible your brand and that content is from other websites mentioning and linking to, and maybe even users searching for phrases within that content. And it's about how users behave in the search result when your listing appears. So what if Skechers memory foam does appear, the the third position in Google? If nobody's clicking on it, over time Google might think that's not a good search result, and eventually it'll move down. So when you ask yourself, hey, is what I'm doing affecting SEO? It's either related to the page and how relevant that page is to what the user searched. It's about the visibility of that page in terms of links, mentions, and searches. And it's related to user behavior, what people do when they get to a Google search result. Do they click on your listing and stay there? Or do they skip your listing? Or do they click your listing and bounce back to Google and choose another result? That behavior over time, so you can't go home and just start clicking on listings, because even if Google does pick it up, eventually it'll find a pattern of irregular behavior and it'll ignore it. But those 3 things are really what play into SEO. Good question. Another one, how does social media posting tactics and strategy play into SEO efforts? Unfortunately, they really don't. There's a phrase that the industry uses, correlation versus causation, right? And just because we did some things in social doesn't necessarily mean that's why we moved up in rank. And so when we think about it at a high level, the goal of social is really to help promote content that we hope other people will curate and share and ultimately link to. And if they do, then that helps. But if they don't, if you just go out and buy 10,000 likes on something from some random bots that somebody created, or go to Fiverr or Empire Avenue or who knows, to try to influence the number of social engagements that you have, none of that will have a direct impact to your SEO. However, one of the things that we do put in our roadmap is a sort of a fundamental, is making sure that our byline includes the top most important search terms. So, in the case of the lawyer, he's a personal injury attorney, and he handles car and wrongful death. So for him, his byline should be attorney, personal injury attorney specializing in car accidents and wrongful death. If that profile and that byline appear across all of those social channels, and there's a lot of people sharing his or linking to his social profile, and including his website, then you've got links now that are basically sending Google to those profile pages on the social networks that all use the phrases that he wants to be semantic for. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, if all of those bylines all contain keywords that are relevant to the business, and Google is able to get to those pages from links, either from your own website or from other websites, there's definitely some SEO value there. But the links themselves all have an attribute called nofollow. And that nofollow basically tells Google, I don't necessarily trust this site. Please don't count this link as a vote. And that vote gets ignored. So doing more in social doesn't mean you're going to get higher placement. Sharing something amazing in social that people link to. A good example would be when web design goes to hell. Web design goes to hell. I'll send you this article in the chat. And so this is one where if you were to use a tool, here's the page I like. If you use a tool called ahrefs.com, you can actually see how many people are sharing and linking to and really interested in that content. If you create something like that, that naturally magnetizes links because people find it so relatable, they can relate to the content. Then there's massive value for social because now you're exposing that content to the world and it could go viral. A lot of people will share it and go, oh my God, I can totally relate to this. And then they do a write-up and they remember the article and like, what was that piece? Oh yeah, web design goes to hell. And they link to it in their article or embed the infographic to share with their readers, their subscribers. The person who created that original content is going to get lots of votes for it and it's going to move up in search. So hopefully that makes sense. Another question, what about linking social posts to a blog or website? So again, the social links don't pass any page rank. They don't pass value or votes from the post to the page itself. So the only real value of the link is if the person who gets to it decides that they want to curate, share, or link to that content. So again, it's not the fact of posting a link that's going to help your SEO. It's the fact that the person who clicked through the link decided to link to the page itself. So there's an indirect value, but not a direct value to social. So cool. So that was the question. So we're getting through, again, the basics of SEO. Basics are we need to have content that's relevant to the query. We need to make sure that that content is highly visible, linked to, shared, searched for. We need to make sure that users are clicking on our results. So we need to really experiment a lot with our title and description. One really cool example, we were talking about Skechers earlier. Back in 2011, the Skechers titles, if you look at archive.org, used to say Skechers official store, right? And that was the title, and then it's a dash, maybe what the product name was. So what we ended up doing was running a test and putting in the price. And so we actually did buy as a behavioral targeted word in the title, back when titles could be a little bit longer, now they're a little bit shorter. We put buy, the product name, and we put from Skechers, starting at, we put the price right in the title. So the user didn't have to click through to see it. Hey, someone's jumping in. Let's see if we can make it work. Hi there. Ellie, are you there? So Ellie has no volume. It's okay. We still have more open seats too. Anyone else who wants to jump in? Hey, there you are. You made it. And we got an echo. Hello, 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 hello.
Hello.
I muted it. I don't know what happened to the volume on there. Maybe choose a different audio. Maybe.
Okay.
How about now? Hey, you got it. Good job.
Okay.
Almost had it. Oh well. Raise your hand when you think you have it, and I'll unmute it. So anyway, so that's again the basics of what plays into it. So we talk about titles and we run tests. The best way to really learn search is to just do it. It's to jump into your website and start with a task list. We do have a site we put together that has a list called SEOroadmap.org. It's this free site we put together, and it breaks it down by discipline. So there's a task list for what you could do with your technical SEO, how you submit sitemaps, and how you get your pages to perform better on mobile devices, and how do you make your websites or your web pages better for users. So there's lots of really good tasks in there that'll kind of help you get started. The next one is content. So we might jump into our content list and say, hey, if this is a sales page that's meant to try to convert a visitor into a customer, then let's make sure that we're using trust signals like trust logos and testimonials or featured on. Anything that we can do to convince a visitor that we're the best solution to what they were looking for, I think is going to be a huge win as a content from a content perspective. And that list is on SEO Roadmap, so you can just download all the cool things that you can do for SEO there. We also have another task list for online reputation. So search isn't always just how do I rank for a product name or a product description, like I don't know, iPhone charging case. How do I be number one for that? That's a really good exercise for search and trying to place for that keyword. But there's other ways people use search, like negative. So you do a search for your name, and suddenly there's some old stuff about you that you don't want online. So an important part of SEO is making sure that that negative stuff isn't showing up on the first page of Google and moving it off. You're laughing. I got to hear this laugh. Oh, do we have echo still, or are you good? Want to try? You're trying? I can read your lips. I said, I'm trying. Like, Steve, you've got a really great haircut. No, that's not what she's saying. She's saying, wow, this guy's really old and he's got gray hair. If he says algorithm, I'm going to hang up. It's okay. I'll leave it on. We'll see if we can get it working again. Anyway, so we were just talking about just SEO in general, some things that we can do. The SEO roadmap site's a great way to take those checklists and put them into a spreadsheet and just start working on them. But the biggest thing that you can do is experiment. Use the information that's there in Search Console and just start playing with it. Start playing with your title and see if more people are clicking on it, because it'll tell you. It tells you what your click-through rates are. You can see my screenshots earlier and see that Google gives you that information. It's free. So we love to run tests. So here's one test we run, titles, like the Skechers example. So we'll modify a title and see if more people are clicking. Descriptions. Maybe we'll put free shipping and some other coupon or something into the description to see if that gets them to click. Maybe we'll use some structured coding on our web page to try to get more things to show up on that search result. Yelp does a really good job of this. What shows up in Yelp when somebody performs a search and they see Yelp? It's stars. Stars make people click. So people love to see more than just title and description. They want to see other attributes like reviews and event dates and all sorts of other cool things that give you more real estate in the search result and also make your listing more clickable. So there's another test, is adding some structured markup. Other things that you could test, HTTPS, right? Secure. Google has actually said that they're going to give higher placement to secure sites. And if you're going to go secure, then you're perfect for HTTP2, right? This new server technology that's out there that allows you to really speed up your web pages if you're using HTTPS. So lots of cool things that you can test. Create a baseline. Look at what your click-through rates are and what your searches are in Search Console. Let it run for 18 to 45 days. That's kind of the scrutiny period Google will give you. And watch and see what happens. And if your page went up in search, then what you did was great. Leave it alone and move to the next test. If it didn't, if you saw it go down after 45 days, you might say, you know what, that title really didn't help. It made less people click on my listing. So as you're running those tests, some cool things that you can do. One is Amazon Mechanical Turk. And I'll answer these questions here in a second too. mturk. And I think it's requester.mturk.com. Requester.mturk.com. What I like to do is run these 5-second surveys, and I ask people which title and description would you click on more or would resonate with you better. And then I'll ask 500 people for 5 cents, and I'll get a lot of really good feedback, and that'll help me drive my test. So it's not me just making guesses. Let's see. Elle, you need to have some earplugs in order to not have an echo, but then the rest of the people behind her couldn't hear. Let's see. I have a question about your career. How did you build your career? Are you willing to share? So of course, yeah, I started out as a freelancer. I did side projects in the evening. I volunteered. First 5 years of my service in digital was free. It was volunteer work. I worked a day job. I was right out of the military. I worked Pacific Air Health Systems and into IBM. And I worked for free. And I took websites and limousines and DJs and local guys that had these small little websites. And I started working for free. I learned what I could about search. I Googled, I followed experts, and I read books, right? SEO for Dummies or whatever was available at the time. And I experimented, and I tried to help those local businesses get more traffic. And then they started referring people, and before you knew it, I had like 40 clients. And it was super exciting. It was fun. But again, it was something I was just freelancing to do. And Most of it was free, and some of it was, for a little bit of change. And but at the time, it really wasn't SEO. I chose a career path that was aligned with where I wanted to be. E-business management. I mean, it doesn't get more internet than that, right? So, graphics, coding, server, database, all of those things play into e-business. So as soon as I graduated, I put my resume out there. I got the Disney job, and here I am. So that's kind of how I got my career started, volunteering. How I would start a career today in SEO is I would start by being involved in the actual inbound marketing community. So you do that by joining inbound.org. I'll put that in here, inbound.org, and pick up a topic like just SEO, or if you like local SEO, that's another one. Local SEO relates to how to show up in a Google map, the 3-pack there at the top of Google. Pin that inbound.org topic that most interests you to your Chrome browser and look at it for a few minutes every day. See what's trending. What are people talking about? Another thing I do is I also pin the Google Webmaster blog. I pin the Bing Webmaster blog. I will pin my SEO expert list on Twitter. So what I did is I went out to all the different conference websites for search. I went out to all the articles that have the top experts in SEO, and all of those that look really interesting, I put in my Twitter list. And so now I pin the SEO expert Twitter list in my browser, and I can actually see what everybody who is really good at search, who's spoken at an event or written a book, or who's an authority in SEO, I see what they're talking about right now. Where the blogs are great, but not all experts blog every day. The Bing blog hasn't been updated, I don't think, since November or something. The Google blog was updated recently, talking about AMP pages, right? The accelerated mobile pages. So that was cool, but it's not updated every day. So it's good to see it and see if something's updated, but most of the time there's not. So the real-time feeds like Twitter, it's a great way to stay in tune with what's going on right now in search. And believe it or not, it's a rabbit hole. So when you see something on there and you don't know what it is, when you read the actual context of it, it usually drills down to teach you more about it. So if you read an article about penalty, like I was penalized by Google, my rankings dropped, what happened? The article itself usually links to the references, like Google Panda, if there was a content penalty or something. You can actually drill in and see what's going on. Cool, lots of new people are joining our Blab. Any other questions? How can I drive traffic to my podcast? Somebody has a podcast question. That's a great idea. I would start by creating a blog to promote it, and start talking about content related to what you're going to be podcasting about. And one tool that I use that you're going to love is called Answer the Public. But answerthepublic.com, select US, and perform a search for a really short word. Like for me, it would be SEO. For a storage company, it might be storage. And what you're going to find is a whole bunch of questions people ask. So line up those questions in a content marketing calendar and say every week or every other day, I'm going to promote the absolute best answer to these questions. I'm going to look at who else shows up for the answer to these questions and make my answer better. Use infographics, use video, use anything and everything that you can do to make your version better. Promote it on the social channels. Connect with other people in your industry who might want to share that content, either through curation on their own blog or through their social profiles, however, and really start building that audience up. That's a great way to to build content and hopefully start promoting the podcast. On each page, you could have sign up for my podcast with a little widget and give them a reason to get my free checklist. By subscribing to my podcast. That's one of the things that we used to do, is get my free checklist. Always works really well. Right now we're giving away free audits, and that's going a little faster than I thought it would. So we're probably going to switch that soon to something a little less than a free audit, since we're getting so many requests. Any other questions people have about SEO? So we went through sort of a beginning to end search, right? We need to make sure our website is search engine friendly and users can get to it. We need to make sure that our content's relevant. We need to make sure that users are clicking on our results and staying on our pages. And I think something we didn't really cover is some of the niche types of search. I mentioned Facebook earlier and Twitter. There's Amazon. There's actually Amazon SEO experts out there that specialize just in Amazon. And so there's so many different niches that you can get into. One of them is local or multi-location. So for brands like Public Storage or like Meineke Car Care, a goal for them is to appear for all 900 or all 3,000 locations, or Skechers and their nearly 400 locations. Those are really important to them. They're a little bit harder to track though, because nobody's actually buying anything online. Their goal is to get foot traffic into their stores, into their auto repair shops, into their storage facilities. So it's a little bit of a different approach than your standard, SEO strategy. And so what we do there is we think about 4 specific aspects, and this might be helpful for you guys that are doing some freelance work in your free time, or if you're doing anything with SEO at all. Start with data. So there's some really cool tools that you can use out there that help get your business information into the databases where it gets published online. One of my favorites is Moz Local, M-O-Z Local. And I love Moz Local for small businesses. It's so affordable and it's great. It does a really good job with getting you into those databases. Once you've gotten that part covered, the next step with taking your data and what do I do with it is maybe use a program like, or a service like WhiteSpark. So those guys can go out there and really make sure your business data is where it needs to be beyond the databases, and that is your industry directories. For lawyers, it's going to be law firm directories. For medical industries, it's going to be medical directories. It's also going to help you get into local business directories, like maybe Anaheim is, if you're in Anaheim, you want to get into Anaheim business directories and AnaheimCity.org and that sort of thing. So that service will help get your business where it needs to be in those locations. Next is your landing page, and then beyond that, we get into your reputation. Because if your reputation sucks, it's a 1-star review, nobody's going to click on your listing, and you're just going to sit there in the search result for a few weeks, and then you're gone. So it can get pretty scary. Aaron asked the question: what tools do you use to find the best co-occurrence keywords for a certain keyword phrase without spending too much time? There's a couple different tools I like. I really like that Answer the Public. That's fun. Another tool that I seem to be using a lot more now than later is Clever Gizmos has a keyword researcher tool. Keyword researcher is pretty awesome for finding what people are searching for before and after a search term. So that's a neat little tool that you could use. What else? Lots of other questions. So I think that's it on tools. So follow those 3 services though. If you're going to get an SEO and you want to follow along and see what the industry is doing and how do I rank anything for a piece of content, have some fun with it. Really, I mean, if you've got a business location that you can use, play with it. Take something fun like a fake service that you offer, or someone's name. I saw somebody do this before where they used their wife and they put princess of whatever city, and they said, watch how I can make you appear in a Google map for princess of. And then they follow that same little checklist for local SEO that you'll find on SEOroadmap.org. And like, check it out. If you do princess now and you're in that area, it shows a picture of her and like a business listing and everything. It's really funny. But it was a neat little exercise to explore and use SEO as a playground to learn about how it works. Then it's just taking the business side of that and making it work. Clever Gizmos, you got it. That's it. So cool little site where you can put up some great tools. What other questions? I think that's it. So I talked about my career a little bit. I don't really talk about money side of things too much, but I can tell you that there's a lot of money in search. Every business needs to appear in search because it makes up for most of your traffic. Ask any business just for fun, hey, can I look at your Google Analytics for 5 minutes? Go to Google Analytics, click on channels to kind of see where their traffic's coming from. And you're always going to see Google and SEO or organic search as being number one. Number one traffic to a website is always going to come from search. So it's probably the most important thing to businesses is to drive that and grow your organic search traffic. So I think that's a great place to start when you're looking at search overall is, where's our traffic coming from and how can we grow and improve? Start with a strategy or an audit. Use that roadmap site to help create that strategy. And then go to an expert or a consultant and say, what are my next steps? And help them or have them help you build out a plan, to really do a good job with technical, contextual, and visibility tasks that all help you grow your search. I think that's kind of how it goes. I just got my certification code from Google. Can I show up on Google Maps now? If you went to Google My Business and you created your profile, I would say the next steps are to use that SEO roadmap site, go to local SEO and follow the different data, landing page, citation, and reputation tasks. And you can jump in. Hey, we've got some people that want to hang out. Cool. Who else? Awesome. Hey, Pod Tenna. What's up? How you doing? Why does everybody have an echo?
Echo.
Switch your sound settings to headphones instead of speakers. Okay. You see my question above. Question about keywords. At one point, I heard that Google was ignoring HTML5 header keywords and paying more attention to the use of organic keywords. So Google wants to rank pages that show the same content to the user as they do to the search engine. So the meta keywords tag was removed from their ranking algorithm, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. The meta keywords tag is really more to get the user to want to click on your search result. It's really more of a user behavior signal than it is what Google will look at and determine how to rank your site. I think they removed the description a while back. There are some meta tags that you can use that might have an impact on SEO. You've got your open graph, you've got your Twitter card. I've even seen open graph tags replace the HTML title tag in some cases. So there's I think there's a lot of opportunity in the header of your web page to help search engines understand what your content's about. Whether it'll have a significant ranking impact, probably not. I'd say it's your content, the content that makes the most difference. And I wouldn't get hung up on keywords today anyway. Once they released their update called Hummingbird, it was really more about solving the end desire of the user. Oh, we got an echo. Echo went away. So yeah, it's keywords. It's a tough question, right? How do we know what keywords we should be ranking for? And that's where paid search comes into play. If you can come up with a few $100 a month to do AdWords and to do Bing Ad Center, they'll actually tell you which search terms resulted in a sale or a conversion. And then you've got a few months worth of history. You take those search terms and you give them a little bit more emphasis on your website, your web pages, and then suddenly you start to see your organic listings move up. So Ellie, you are laughing about the funniest things, and I wish I could hear you. Maybe you can chat them. Let's see. Do you see my question above? I got to that one. So I wouldn't worry about keywords as much in the header as I would in your content. And the only time the keyword really should matter in your content is for the user to see that that's what they were looking for. Cool. Hey, we got a lot of people joining us. God bless Jesus 69. Very cool. So great. Any other questions about search that I could answer, about my career, about what I've done in the last decade? We got some pretty cool things happening right now. That roadmap site that we put out, it's getting a lot of attention. It's got a lot of really cool checklists. Yes, that's funny. You're messing with me. I know you are. Elance or Fiverr are a good place to find SEO talent. No, but Elance and Fiverr are a great place to find graphics that support your SEO efforts. If you're trying to rank for auto accident attorney Los Angeles, you want to be #1 for auto accident attorney in Los Angeles, you can go to Fiverr or Elance and get some custom graphics that really help identify your area and your service. You can name that image, attorney, a car accident attorney Los Angeles.jpg. You can wrap it with some structured markup like schema.org/image object, and you can add that image to your XML sitemap to show Google that your content is relevant and unique to anything else that you would find online versus stock images, which people just don't resonate with. So you can use Fiverr and Elance and Odesk and other services to help create content that helps users identify with your content better, for sure. No, I am not Jewish. So, cool. So that's a good question, though. I mean, there's a lot of crap out there, really. I mean, if you go to Fiverr, you can find people that'll get you 5,000 links to your website for $5, and then you'll spend $5,000 cleaning it all up after you get penalized. So I would avoid doing anything that's manipulating search results and just focus on creating something that can gravitate links through content. Oh, no. Okay, cool. Well, great. So I think I answered a lot of questions. I got a couple people calling in. Let's see if we can not get an echo this time. Hopefully. All right. Hey, guys.
Yo, what's up, Steve?
What's up?
Dude, what's good, bro? Dude, I'm smoking that loud right now, bro.
You have questions on search?
Yeah, what's your favorite stuff to smoke when you're doing,
Chat me offline.
You know what I'm saying? What's
Hey, Peter. Peter, you have an echo. You have a headphone?
No, it's
all right, we killed it. We had a really bad echo. And try again? Yeah, if you have headphones, that'll work. All right. Let's try one more time. How about now? Echo? Nope. No, there's no audio. I can't hear you at all now.
now.
Still echo.
Oh no.
Okay, I'll mute it for now. Let me know. Raise your hand when you think you got it. Well, cool. Great. So we talked about local SEO. We talked about organic search. We talked about a little bit about my history and how I got into it. I mentioned a free website, SEO roadmap, that you can check out some cool stuff. It's all free. And I think we got through a lot. Anyone having a specific issue on search that I can help solve?
Anybody have any issues?
No? No one? Someone wants to have me look at a web page? Or Brent, is there a web page, with your agency that is struggling to rank for a particular keyword that you want me to look at on the call, just to kind of go through how we would kind of identify and troubleshoot some SEO problems? Anyone? Probably opening myself up for trouble since this is a live Blab and we got more than just Irvine, who was supposed to be the original participants. Oh well. Okay. Well, cool. Okay, I got a question. International search. Awesome. How do you approach SEO for a Chinese website? So I'm gonna kind of pivot that with a little bit of an angle when we're thinking about SEO. So what if you want to target multiple languages? And this is a really good question, because what happens, because Google will penalize if you have too much similar or thin content on your website. You'll start to see some ranking fluctuations because Google says, I don't know what URL to show. Both of them seem relevant. One of them might seem like it's in another language, but I'm not really sure. So Google Search Console has some tools in it that allow you to segment the countries that you're targeting. So if you're going to do a Chinese website and you want to target just China, you can do that in country settings. But what if you want to target Chinese-speaking residents here in the States? That's where it gets a little bit complicated. So what we do is we use something called an href lang tag. And in fact, Google's got a whole guide on how to do this. I'm just going to do href lang tag in Google, and it's going to come up probably with the support doc that I always reference. I'll put it into the Blab for you. It's actually not really hard at all. Just follow this guide. There's a little video and there's some steps. You add this tag and it basically says, Google, you've gotten to this page that's an English version of a page that I also have a Chinese version for. Here's the link to the Chinese version. And the Chinese version links to the page that has the English version using that href lang tag. That way you can segment and tell the search engines that this one's Chinese and this one's English. You'll look in your search console, you'll click over to country and language targeting. It will tell you whether you've set those tags up correctly or not. You'll see it right there in the dashboard. Now Google should serve the Chinese version to Chinese-speaking people and the English version to English-speaking people. Super simple. And just a couple tags. If you want to see who did it right, look at Marketo. Marketo did a great job. I'll put their link in here too. Marketo.com. Look at their source code and look for, with Control F, href lang. And you can see how they set theirs up. They did a really good job. I got another caller coming in. And I think it's probably my speakers that are causing the problem, if I had to guess. Hey, Michael.
Hi.
See if I can,
how are you?
Good. How are you?
How are you?
Fantastic. Do you have a question about SEO?
Yeah, I do. Can you look at my website?
Let me turn my volume up a little bit. Can you repeat the question?
Can you look at my website?
Absolutely. In fact, if you want to send me an email, I'll take a full look at it after the call as well. I'll put my email in the chat.
On my profile.
There, I put it in the chat for you. Send me an email with the URL. I'll take a look at it after the call.
It's michaeldhaynes.com.
Awesome. So I just put my email in there. Feel free to shoot me an email, and then after the call, I'll do a full review for you. I'd be happy to.
I'll
Great.
get up before I can send you feedback. I hate feedback.
I feel your pain.
Have a great day, guys.
Awesome. Any other questions from anyone about search in general? Is there no questions? Any other challenges? Any ranking issues? Any myths that I can bust on SEO? We do have a couple fun events coming up. There's the Business Marketing Association, SoCal BMA. You go to SoCalBMA, it's .org.com. There's an event coming up in San Diego on the 31st. We're going to be talking for an hour about paid search and how to build campaigns, how to organize your campaigns, looking at ad groups and match types and keywords and all sorts of cool stuff with AdWords. And we have another event in April that we're going to be going to, and it's on local. It's called the Local Search Summit. So we'll be there talking about location-based search for franchises and multi-location businesses. How can my students email you? You got my email. I put it in there. I'll put it in here again for you, though. Just steve@wiideman.com. Steve@wiideman.com. If you want to email me, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Where do you see RankBrain influencing algorithm now? That's a good question. So there's all these updates Google makes, right? I don't know. Probably every year there's dozens that we don't see. The ones that have the biggest impact all have code names. There was codename Panda, codename Penguin. There was an EMD update for exact match domain. There's Hummingbird, which really wasn't a penalty kind of algorithm. It was more of a translation. Their historical formula for ranking websites was called PageRank. And PageRank is still there, kind of running in the background. You don't really know what it is anymore since they don't give you information about it. But a newer update came out recently called RankBrain, and it said that RankBrain is the second strongest signal for how to rank a website. And it's artificial intelligence. I have to use the word algorithm. I hate to do that on a call, but it's an artificial intelligence algorithm that's supposed to, in real time, know what's going on with search, with a particular search result. So how are users behaving with that search result? And how are other websites behaving with that search result? And RankBrain is still so new that there's not a lot of data to show what moved up and what moved down. There were some case studies that said that RankBrain affected branded search terms. So for websites that used to receive a lot of traffic, I think it was Atlanta News, one of those Atlanta websites, used to get a lot of traffic for keywords like Adobe and Google. Used to get a lot of keyword traffic for that. And there was some screenshots that showed that some websites had lost branded traffic that wasn't their own brand. But I think that was an anomaly because I haven't seen anything else like that since. So I think it's time for someone to run some before and after tests, and it's been enough months that we'd have some conclusive data. Actually, email me after the Blab, and I'll go through my analytics and tell you what I see, sort of from beginning to end when RankBrain launched. What is your favorite least? Let me go back up to the top. I don't miss any questions here. How do you handle industries that are super competitive like supplements? Well, we, as a consultancy, we try to stay away from certain industries because of how much of an impact the things you're not supposed to be doing still have in search. Those industries are adults, pharmaceutical, and online gaming. So we try to stay away from those industries in general because it's so competitive that they have to do things that aren't acceptable. And in order to get search engines to be your friends and your advocates and to help you, you got to follow their guidelines. So we tend to stay away from them. in general, but if I was going to get into a competitive industry like supplements, I would provide the best answers to supplement related questions and get the brand influencers in the industry, the book authors, the social media influencers to help me with curation and sharing of that content. And I get that on a calendar and do it every week and do it better than anybody else. If you want to see someone who's doing it well, go to Sparefoot. Look at their blog. They're doing a really good job. Public Storage recently started kicking some serious butt. If you look at their YouTube profile, you can see what they're up to and thinking about content marketing in general. Next question is, what's your favorite least part of your job? Well, you know, running a consultancy is a lot easier than running an SEO agency. Running an SEO agency, the hardest part is taking those calls saying, why am I not #1 for X keyword? That gets annoying, and it's really difficult because, you know, ranking isn't something that we obsess about. It's organic traffic. You know, hey, I got your traffic and your leads and your sales up by 300%. I don't care. I'm not #1 for the word credit card. You're like, okay, you obviously don't understand what we do. So I would say that was the most difficult part as an agency. As a consultancy, my biggest challenge and the least, I guess, at least part of my job is the number of hats you have to wear. Because as an SEO, you are not just a webmaster. You are not just a content strategist. You are not just a communications advisor or public relations. You are everything. You are everything from hardcore tech to you know, to really hardcore strategy and content. If you look at some of the groups I'm subscribed to in Facebook, I'm in, you know, the content groups. I'm in the tech groups. I'm in the entrepreneurial groups, because I'm listening to what industries are saying and what best practices are coming out to stay abreast of all of those things. And most people just like to focus on one thing. I just do content. I just do web. You know, as an SEO, you know, the most challenging part is just wearing all those hats and trying to stay current on all of those different topics. So I'd say that's probably the hardest part, most challenging part. There's nothing I don't really like, though. I kind of like everything. I like working with people. I don't like working with clients that don't want to take the time to learn about what we do. You know, you want to hire someone to do a job, but you're not interested in learning about what goes into that job. Because SEO isn't a plumber or electrician who just comes in and does something. You know, it's a job where it's very dynamic and requires engagement with the clients. Nothing scarier than launching a piece of content and having a client call and say, that's not even what we do. I'm like, well, I asked you to give me content. And they say, I just asked you to give me leads. They're like, well, give me content. So it's kind of a struggle for agencies, and one of the reasons I'm not one anymore. Let's see. How did you make a living doing freelance work? Well, I cheated. I had a day job. But if I were just freelancing full time, I would triple my prices. When I went from doing an SEO strategy from 500 for a strategy to 3,500, after looking at a year of data from clients I've been working with and the value that I provided in terms of organic traffic, tripling my prices, it made all the difference. So how do I start as a freelancer? I build up my sites to show that I know what I'm doing. I provide examples and case studies. I have references, and then I just increase my pricing. And limit how many clients you have at a time. That's the only way you're going to survive as a freelancer. You know, pick 8 clients and work with them for $1,000 a month. 8K of income and you're done, right? What else? Other questions? Can you do an analysis of the swim class? Cool. Yeah, for sure. That's a really good question. In fact, one of the things I'll do after the call, Peter, if you send me the URL, I'll take a look at the URL. I'll make some suggestions. I'll do a little video, kind of walk you through how I do an analysis. We'll look at mobile friendliness. We'll look at page speed. We'll look at the specific content. We'll look at how it's appearing in the search results. You know, we'll look at a lot of different factors on the web page to see, and then we'll compare up what the competing URLs are doing and see why your URL isn't performing as well. Other questions? I'd love to see those tests. Cool, sure. I think we're connected on Facebook too, so I can DM you. So that respectful of your time, Peter's question will be the last. Up to you, I got time. I don't have anything else planned, so I'm happy to help however I can. How did you know this was what you wanted to do? I didn't. Honestly, I like web design. I wanted to be a web designer, but when my clients started canceling because they weren't getting traffic to their websites back in the late 90s, you know, it just became something I had to do. I had to grow up and get better at, you know, at search. I had to learn how to get traffic to their websites, and I did it out of necessity, and I became obsessed with it, eventually passionate about it. I started writing things about it and connecting with peers, and just became super passionate about it. So I guess that's how I grew up in search. How did you know? Let's see. Any advice trying to make a career transition? So I mentioned some sites earlier in the Blab, and I know this is recorded, but the three main sites that I would study and I would pin in your browser and look at 30 minutes a day. Come in, get your coffee and sit down and go through these three websites. One is the Google Webmaster blog. The other is the Bing Webmaster blog. The other is inbound.org. And if you really want to go crazy and just totally get immersed in search, that Twitter lists. You can follow mine if you want to. I have a Twitter list called SEO Experts. Subscribe to that, follow it, pin it in your browser, spend that first 30 minutes going through Google, Bing, and inbound.org and that Twitter feed, because it's a real-time feed of what's going on in the industry right now, and it'll help you as you go through and follow that content. Most of the time, they link to what they're talking about in the content, so that you can learn as you go. You don't have to go back and buy a book and start over. You can start with what's happening right now, and when you don't know something, most of the time there's a link to help you learn more about it. So I would say start there if you want to really become obsessed with it. Do that 30 minutes a day. Follow those three websites, and I think you'll be great. What else? Not a specific school, but an industry snapshot. Oh, okay, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with me today, and I hope I answered all your questions. And definitely check out that roadmap site, SEOroadmap.org. It's all free stuff. And hopefully you'll find it useful. You can copy and paste it into Excel and create yourself a nice little list of what to do. Or if you're really excited about getting into search, take the lists that are in there and put them into different tabs in Excel. One for TAC, one for content, one for visibility. For your local business, create your local list. And I think we'll go from there. Well, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. And I'll go ahead and end this. And Brent, you and I can connect on phone. And hopefully we'll do another one of these soon. Thanks, guys.